Whew. Welcome everyone to a brand new series that I think I'm going to start. It's LumberJillville News, where I'm mostly going to cover women's wrestling figure news, but I'll sprinkle in some other news throughout the collecting community and also the professional wrestling community, which today we are going to start off with something rather sad. Okay. So there were some releases that I just got word of as I was at my daughter's birthday party, and I'm crushed. I'm absolutely crushed. Now, I didn't expect to talk about it tonight, but the fact that it just happened, I figured, why not? Let's talk about it. What's up, Christian? How you doing? So let's talk about some of these releases that I read about, because there are quite a few women on this list, and that is just really unfortunate because I'm a big fan of a lot of the women. So let's just get on to it, y'all. No one wants to see me, so let's minimize me, and let's talk about these releases. All right, so we got LumberJillville news. We are live. I'm going to start doing this. Let me know. How you doing, Kai? Let me know if you like this idea, if you like this series. Maybe once every couple weeks, once a month, maybe once a week, I'll get on here and do some news live. All right, so let's get me out of the frame here. So as reported by Fightful, the following wrestlers have been released by WWE. Braun Strowman, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter, and Katana Chance. Also, Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan. Y'all, those are 6 women released from the company. That is just crushing. It is. When I read this, I was just so disheartened. I don't like to see anybody lose their job, especially from WWE, because you got to think, I've really been supporting AEW as of late, and I've been watching it, and I've been enjoying it as an alternative to WWE, but there's no argument that WWE is it is the top of the mountain, especially when it comes to the women's division. Jakara too? What? Was Jakara released too? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I just got this news before I left the party. And like I said, it is the absolute dream for a lot of these women to make it to WWE and be in their women's division because of the amazing time that they get and the talent that they have. And all of these women are so talented in their own right. So let's talk a little more about it. Let's talk about these names, and then I'm going to look and see who else might have been released. Because I don't see Cora Jade. Okay, I don't see anything on Jakara. Oh, yeah, I don't see anything on Jakara Jackson, honestly. So we're going to leave that out right now. So Braun Strowman is the only male on this list, really, that I came across, although I did see that Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, and Gallus were also released, I think. Yeah, someone posted and said Nikita Lyons having a place in WWE really is the biggest shocker. And I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Nikita. I just don't think she's really gotten to show us what she can do in the ring. And I think most of her fandom and most of her, I guess fandom from the wrestling community comes for some reasons that aren't exactly, what I support, right? But Dakota Kai, everyone knows, I keep a professional in LumberJillville, but it's okay to have crushes. And I've had a huge crush on Dakota Kai. I think she's absolutely, absolutely stunning. She's beautiful, but she's also so talented, and she's really, really good. Now, I noticed in her entire career in WWE, she really wasn't given that main event opportunity. She was given, some of the newer titles. She was given a shot at that, and a lot of people were wanting her to win. But honestly, her personality really came out back in NXT when she turned heel. That was one of the best heel turns in wrestling history. I mean, I know that's very subjective, but it was amazing. If you haven't seen it, type in Dakota Kai heel turn on YouTube and watch it. It was amazing. So what she did in NXT was so much better than what she was able to do in WWE. Now, I was there when she returned at SummerSlam 2022, and it was the best moment that I could have ever asked for because I'm such a fan of Dakota Kai. Now, Shayna Baszler, once again, she did so much in NXT that I think people forget about. And she kind of lost her way in the main roster, especially once they released Sonya Deville. They were still keeping Zoe and Shayna together, but it's kind of like, for what? You know? And I love Shayna, and I absolutely love Zoe. And I'm glad Zoe's not on this list, knock on wood. But Shayna Baszler is amazing. I think she brings something to the table that there's no other woman in the company that brings what Shayna Baszler can bring to the table. Her look, her attitude, her appeal, her talent. Like, I think that's a big miss releasing Shayna Baszler. I know she wasn't the most popular superstar, but I think what she brought was so unique. Now, moving on to Kaden and Katana, listen, I love Kaden and Katana. I think they are an amazing tag team. You know, I love them in NXT, love them when they got called up to the main roster. But sadly, with the tag team division in WWE, the women's tag team division, it just doesn't exist. Any tag team out there, it's just mixed together, hodgepodge, modge podge, you know, single stars put together, and there really is no such thing as a tag division anymore. Even with the men's teams are really starting to be like, wait, they're a team, huh? So the women's tag team division, I think with Kaden and Katana getting released, that just shows you, sadly, the outlook of the women's tag team division. And what that is looking very grim. Looking very grim, y'all. I mean, ever since Ronda left the company, I'm just going to be honest, ever since Ronda left the company, the focus on the women's division has slowly scaled back little by little. And I've noticed that. And it's really bothered me and really got under my skin. But sadly, that's just the reality we live in WWE. So I think letting go Kaden and Katana just shows you what they think the women's tag division, and they don't think much of the women's tag division. Now, Cora Jade and Gigi. Gigi is very sad because she had something great going on with Toxic Attraction. And when Toxic Attraction broke up, when Mandy got fired, she just floundered. They had nothing really for her to do, and that's too bad. She's very talented. Now, Cora Jade, I actually, I don't support her getting released, but I understand it. I think she's barely been in the ring, but neither has Nikita, to be honest with you. She's kind of in the same boat as Nikita, where she's been injured more than she's been active. Now, she has been healthy as of late. She did wrestle at Stand and Deliver, and she did a fine job, but maybe they just weren't seeing the progress there that they were hoping for. So once again, I'm sad, and my heart goes out to anyone else that was released. It's just a terrible thing. I hope that they all know that they made an impact some way, somehow, to someone out there. To me, all these women that are listed here made a huge impact to me, to LumberJillville. So shout out to any of them. And hopefully they find their footing. I would love to see them go to AEW. Like I said, I've been watching AEW more. Realistically, I only watched AEW when Jade Cargill was in AEW because I loved what she was doing over there. She was the biggest star in the company, and I will argue that all day. But yeah, their women's division hasn't really gotten that push, but if they bring over some of these women, maybe there will be a push for the women. But yeah, there's, I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be more releases, and I'm just terrified by it, quite frankly. But I just wanted to briefly cover this. I know it's kind of negative, but I just saw this and I wanted to talk about it with y'all. And I know I see in the comment section, a lot of y'all are affected by this as well. So yeah, it's sad. I hate to see this. So I hope all of them know that they're loved, know that they're awesome, and it makes them even better. It makes them go out there and make a name for themselves outside of WWE, because honestly, like I said, WWE has been really lacking in their push and their support for the women's division. They have. Ever since Ronda left, they've scaled back. It was up, up, up. It was going up, and then Ronda left, and it's like they've little by little decrease the amount of women's matches on pay-per-views, decrease the amount of time that the women have on TV. A big part of that was, the Bloodline storyline from years ago, and Cody Rhodes, they get about 50% of the programming. So anyway, let's move on. Very, very sad. And yeah, Shayna, Alex says he loves Shayna. Shayna's no one, like I said, hey, No one brings to the table what Shayna brings to the table. Everything about her is so unique that I thought she was truly, I mean, I was just watching her, I think it was last week on SmackDown, saying to my dad, like, hey, she's awesome. She's amazing. Like, there's no one like her in WWE. Like, they need to keep her. Anyway, let's move on to the news. So tonight's agenda, what do we got on tonight's agenda? We are going to talk the Powertown update that came out last Sunday. We're going to cover the Mercedes Moné pre-order. Could that be the best women's wrestling figure of all time? Listen, I'm a Sasha Mercedes stan. She's my all-time favorite women's wrestler. I just think she has done so much to move the needle for women in women's wrestling, and she's got a lot of haters out there. She's got a lot of people that love her, but that just tells me that, you know what that means? That means she's a big deal. And then we're going to talk about the Alundra Blayze main event figure that is such a disappointment, a head scratcher. I am so sick about that Alundra Blayze main event figure coming out. So let's start off with the Powertown update. So Powertown recently, let's make the screen bigger. Okay, you can kind of see the bottom there. I didn't think about it, cut off the screen a little bit. Okay, so Powertown recently updated this, and it's basically their lines, kind of the roadmap, what's coming out. Now, as you can see, we have the TNA line shipping in April of 25, and the Ultra Series 2 shipping April 25. Now, it's important to note, this is, I think, the third time they've changed the dates. It actually started out with months and months and months ago, and then it moved to March, April, shipping March, April. And then as it approached April, they changed it just to April. And now April's over, y'all. And they came out with a statement. Now, what is that statement? I'm going to post it right here. It's very small text. I don't think I'm going to read it all to you, but basically they're saying, hey, we know that you fans are frustrated. We know y'all are frustrated and you want to hear from us what's going on. And to sum it up, let me sum it up. They're making excuses. They're trying to save face. What they've done with these pre-orders that has caused a lot of controversy in the collecting community is they've basically sat on our money with no updates. It's one thing if a company updates every week or every couple weeks saying, hey, you know, this is the state of what's going on with your pre-orders that are not coming in April like we have listed on the website. They still might be listed as April 25 on the website right now. Like, no one is controlling their social media or their website properly. Honestly, I think it's a bunch of old dudes running the company, and quite frankly, that's why they're out of touch. They're absolutely out of touch. They're all about making quality products and making figures that the collectors want. But as far as communication goes, I can't think of a worse company than this. I absolutely can't think of a worse company than this. So the State of the Union here, let's just read this here. Let's read the important parts because they go on a list of talking about the guys in charge and, you know, the officers, the CEOs. It's a bunch of old dudes that have no idea what they're doing. They might be specialized in certain categories like, okay, designing the figure. That's great. You know, reaching out to other wrestlers to getting them signed onto Powertown. That's great as well. But where are the people that are, you know, communicating and relaying information to the public, to us customers? Because first off, if you want to see detailed information and an amazing breakdown of this, check out Kyle Peterson's YouTube channel. He does news segments, and he's talked about Powertown for months and months and months. He does a very good job of really highlighting the points that us collectors should be worried about. What I love about it is you see a lot of companies, like even the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast talked about it briefly, and they're like, you know, oh, well, you know, pre-orders, everybody. Sometimes you got to wait. But they make really good stuff. And, you know, it kind of comes off a little homerish for the company. They did get a 2-pack made by them. And I love the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, but can they be biased sometimes? Absolutely. They try to keep things real, but sometimes you got to see right through that, right? Because this company, what they're doing is wrong. And what they've done is they've taken everybody's pre-order money for the Remcos, for the Ultra Series 2, for the TNA line for over a year. You know, that Jordan Grace in the Medusa, I believe, went up about a year ago, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but either way, we're going on to a year with very little updates as to where the figures are. And at the end of the day, I was on the Major World Order podcast, and they assured me, I think it was Billy that assured me, like, hey, man, I know you posted in the group some negative feedback. I promise you the product's worth it. And I was like, man, that's really cool to hear, because I don't have any Powertown figures in hand. They only have their first 2 women in the line on pre-order. But I was like, you know what? That actually did make me feel better, and I appreciated that. But the longer I'm waiting, and the longer I'm seeing the community react to Josh's Toy Shows here. What's up? The winner of the Naomi. The more that I'm kind of seeing the community reactions, like, I feel like, I gave them a $250 loan. There are people that have ordered the entire Remco line, the entire TNA line, the entire Ultra Series 2 line that have far more money invested. I'm talking close to $1,000, maybe even more. I only have $200 invested in this company, and I'm pretty ticked off, honestly. And it sounds like people that are trying to get their money back are having issues getting a hold of anyone to get their money back. So customer service is just terrible. It's one thing if they're going to take forever and delay, but at least make it available for a customer service rep to respond to an email and say, we are sorry, here's your refund. Here's your refund, right? And honestly, when they announced the pre-orders, they were all over social media. They were posting it all the time saying, hey, last day, 2 days left, 1 week left. You need to pre-order. They were all over social media when they were trying to get your money. And now that they have your money, they're just chilling. And in this, State of the Union, they talk about the tariff. When the tariff thing came down, they were probably excited because they're like, yes, we have another excuse to delay the product. And at this point, it's frustrating. It is very frustrating. And also they're changing their name or something. I don't know. This whole statement doesn't really mean a lot to me. I just want my dang figures. I just want the Jordan, and I want the Medusa, and I want everyone else to get their figures too. Now let's show off those figures. So this was the, 3D renders that were shown off about a year ago. Jordan Grace, the TNA figure, and then Medusa. These figures look really cool. And I have not reached out to Powertown to try to get a refund. People have had issues with that, and I haven't even attempted it, to be honest with you, because, the MWO really reassured me that they're going to be good figures. And boy, they better be. I will say they better be, for the sake of that company, because I give honest reviews, and I'm going to give a very honest review. But either way you look at it, even if these are the best women's wrestling figures made, I'm going to make the statement right away and say it's not worth it. It's not worth pre-ordering and waiting over a year to get the figure. I mean, what are we doing? We're always going to get older. We're always going to move on with our collection. We're going to move forward, I should say, from the collection. But waiting a year, I mean, after these figures come to LumberJillville and I review them, if they put up another women's wrestling figure, I don't know if I'm going to pre-order it. Now, I try to review every women's wrestling figure that's released, but at the end of the day, I just can't support this company. It just seems like they're so out of touch with the public and with their fans. And, these images look great, right? The Jordan Grace looks awesome. Medusa looks awesome. Now, I will say they are 7-inch scale. So are these going to be in scale with your elites and your AEW figures? They're not, which is another head scratcher. Now, let's move on to another topic of, they're too pricey. All right. So on the left, we have the 3D render of Jordan Grace. And on the right, we have this image that I haven't seen listed much. And it actually looks like the product. Right? It looks like the product that might be what we're getting. And I'm going to be honest, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Now, obviously, the 3D renders always look better. But on the right here, the gold looks yellow. The skin is way too glossy and shiny. I mean, this figure on the right does not look like a $55 figure. It just doesn't, flat out, plain out. Now, I won't judge how good or how bad the figure is until I have it in hand. Now, do I think that WWE will release a Jordan Grace Elite before Powertown? At this point, maybe. We haven't had any announced, but I mean, this company needs to do something. They need to bring some people into the company to handle customer service, or that have some kind of sense of how to communicate with people, right? I just picture a bunch of old guys writing letters to each other and typing on the keyboards with 2 fingers, that took them probably 3.5 days on the typewriter to write that public statement, that whatever. So it's very frustrating. You know, they have our money. They have $200+ of me. They have way more money of a lot of people out there. And the communication has been lacking. And if we go back to this State of the Union, what this says is basically nothing at all. Basically says nothing at all. So, yeah. So looking here, I mean, the Jordan Grace, I'm waiting to see how these figures look in hand, because we look at these 3D renders. Wow, these look like the best women's wrestling figures ever. We'll see. I'm going to be very honest in my review when I get them. I always am with my reviews, but these are going to be under a microscope, because at the end of the day, they are pricey. And as I mentioned, there's no figures worth this long of a wait. I don't care if they're the best figures ever. It's just not worth the wait. It's not worth giving over, 60 something dollars if you just order one to a company, and then just hearing just random pushbacks and delays, and really being radio silent on all the consumers and all the people that are buying the product. So it rubs me the wrong way. I'm not a fan of this company. And yeah, I kept my pre-orders. I'm going to keep my pre-orders. Makes me nervous, because at any point, you hope they don't flop like a Megalopolis type thing, and then I lose my money, right? But at the end of the day, I'm keeping my pre-orders. I did order 2 of each. Dumb me. But we'll see when they get here and I review them. All right, so let's move on to let's talk positivity. Let's talk about this new ShopAEW Mercedes Moné 1 of 3,000 exclusive figure. Now, at the time of this recording, I believe it's still available on ShopAEW, which is wild. Now, I ordered multiple of this figure. Not the scalp, not the sell, but because this, to me, looks like the best women's wrestling figure of all time. In my opinion, this Kairi Sane Elite is still the queen, the top of the chart as far as the best women's wrestling figure of all time. I think it is by far, well, not by far, but I do think it's the best. But I think this Mercedes is unfreaking believable. Now, it is $50 US. For what you get here, I think it's completely worth it, especially when there's other third-party independent companies charging $40 for retros that look like Happy Meal toys. You can get this highly articulated, highly detailed figure, and I did get word from a source that wait till I see the attire underneath the jackets, how detailed it is. So it sounds like there's so much care and attention to detail and love that went into this figure that I cannot freaking wait. I cannot wait. Now, Mercedes, Sasha, whatever you want to call her, she's my number one. She is at the top of the hill. She's the one that was on the WWE figure display years before I started LumberJillville. And I saw all these dudes' heads, and then I saw her, and I was like, who's that? They have a woman? A face of the company? Like, wow, who is that? And that got me into women's wrestling a little bit. My daughter helped push that along, and I realized, yeah, she's awesome. She's amazing. And, this isn't a new segment to just talk about how much I think Sasha has moved the needle for the women. It's to talk about this figure. So this figure looks amazing, y'all. It looks like it has the potential to be the best women's wrestling figure of all time. So here's some more images here. We have the front, which is a big puffy jacket underneath. We can see she's got some gold boots, gold high boots there. Her hair looks amazing from the images. Look at that soft goods jacket. It says CEO. Unbelievable. Now moving on to this. Now a lot of people were saying, oof, that likeness. Woof, that likeness. What are y'all talking about? That likeness to me looks amazing. It looks fantastic. Now, I will say that Mattel did a terrible job for the most part with Mercedes or Sasha's likeness. Her last couple figures were pretty decent, but this looks amazing. Look at the eyeshadow, look at the eyelashes, look at the little smirk. I think it looks just like her. I think it's absolutely stunning. Look at the hair. The hair has so much detail on it. Like, it looks fantastic. And yeah, I get what people were saying about the scan and the sculpt until I saw this image, and I'm like, wow. So I'll wait to see it in hand. And as we can see, the rings, Moné talks. Amazing. Look at the little chain going on. And here are the images that were released like a long time ago, y'all. Like, I've been waiting for this figure to go up for pre-order. I'm still waiting for her unrivaled or unmatched figure to go up for pre-order as well. But this was the one I was really excited about. So this was like a mock-up of what the packaging might look like, which is interesting because if the packaging looks like this, it's important to note that it probably won't fit in a normal AEW Defender. So that's important to note. But it looks like if it's packaged like this, it has a very unique package, a very unique box. Now, this is 3D rendering, obviously, of what the attire might look like under everything, and holy smokes, it looks amazing. I mean, this figure, from the soft goods, the multiple soft goods, to the likeness, to the accessories of the hand rings, the sunglasses, look at that attire underneath. Now, it's no secret, I've said this in LumberJillville, that AEW has really taken the crown for the best women's wrestling figures over the last year or so. I really do think so. I think the amount of effort and love and care that they put into their women's wrestling figures, it's unbelievable. I think Mattel has some of the women's figures that come out that are amazing. However, it's been like every women's figure that's came out over the last year or so through AEW. You can tell that they put a lot of attention and care into it. And I've talked to someone in the company, and yeah, he just confirmed how much passion he has behind designing these women's figures and how he involves the talent, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So I'm super excited. We will get to the pre-orders that are up. So yeah, this figure, once again, if you haven't pre-ordered it, you need to go do that, because there's 3,000. Once they're out, they're out. And I hate to say this, but they're going to be on eBay for probably a lot of money, right? But 3,000 is not a lot, but it's 1,000 more than those Tony Storm exclusives, if that is any indication of how fast you need to get this. Now, it's been up for a few days now, so make sure you stop this video, go pre-order this Mercedes, because it looks like it might be the best women's wrestling figure of all time. All right, so let's talk pre-orders. Now, these are the pre-orders that you can go on Ringside Collectibles right now and pre-order. So what we have is we have Liv Morgan, Elite Series 119, and Ultimate Edition Series 27. Bayley, now the Bayley is supposed to come in stock. Let's see here. Let's see, when's Bayley supposed to? Early August. And then Liv is supposed to come in stock early July. So Liv should be here about a month before Bayley. Now, until then, there are a couple figures that are no longer available to pre-order on Ringside. There's the Jade and Bianca 2-pack. I don't see it anywhere on Ringside to pre-order. That should be to LumberJillville soon. And there's also the Alundra Blayze. The Alundra Blayze, you ask? Oh, the Alundra Blayze main event figure. What did they do? Did they put her in some different attire? Did they put her in Medusa attire? Like when she dropped the WWF Women's Championship in the trash? What did they do? They gave us the same dang figure. They gave us the same attire that we've seen in Elite form, that we've seen in Retro form. And now we're getting in the main event line. Why? Why are we getting this? Now, what ticks me off is I pre-ordered this figure before they showed images. And when they showed the images, guess what? Pre-order's down. So I couldn't cancel the two that I pre-ordered and, just ordered one, because I'm going to review this figure. I am. I have to. But what are we doing here? What's Mattel doing? This actually pushes AEW one step up that ladder of quality women's wrestling figures, because what decision, who in the company, who in Mattel, who at WWE, whoever makes the decisions as to what women go in what line and what attire they wear, who made the decision to not only put Alundra Blayze in the main event line, but to give her this attire? If they're going to put her in the main event line, you need to put her in some new attire, because here's the thing. She's not the most well-known women's wrestler. She did so much for women's wrestling. She's an amazing talent, always was. Don't get me wrong. I think she's top 5 of all time for what she did and how far ahead of the game she was. However, when you step back and look at it, did that Elite sell that well? Do you think this main event figure is going to sell that well? And when I see figures like this released that I know aren't going to sell well, I know they're going to peg warm. It frustrates me, because there's so many women's wrestling figures that they could make that would sell, that would fly off the shelves, and they just don't make them. They don't think. And it bothers me, because if this figure doesn't sell, guess what? They're probably going to cut back the amount of women's figures released again, because they already have. I mean, the women's main event figures, I don't know if it's one every 2 cases or one per case, but either way, they're definitely limited. That's why they're a high price on Ringside Collectibles. I mean, the price of this Alundra Blayze, I think, was the same price of a WWE Elite. I think it's the same price as like that Liv Morgan, which is inexcusable. I mean, I get when Ringside has a lower quantity, the price goes up. We've talked about it before. That's a business motto. I get that, but it's really screwing over us women's wrestling figure collectors. I don't necessarily blame Ringside. I blame Mattel, but I wish Ringside would kind of be a little more collector friendly to the women's wrestling figure collectors, because it's not fair for us to pay elite prices on these crappy main event women's figures, you know? So, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm disappointed. I was mad when I saw images, because I'm like, really? Really? They could have gone with tons of attires. Now, this is probably her most well-known attire from a very significant event in her career, but we already got it 2 times in an elite line and a retro line. Why do we need it in the main event line? You know? Why do we need it in the main event line? So I still get frustrated that they haven't released a Medusa in the all black that comes with the trash can in the WWF Women's Championship. How have we not gotten that in the Monday Night Wars line? That's an arguable moment that might have spurred the Monday Night Wars, and we don't have it, and we probably never will. We're going to get like Golga. Okay. We're going to get Golga and 600 Booker T's and, you know, other big players in Monday Night Wars, like Hardcore Hack. You know, he was a big deal. He was a big player in the Monday Night Wars. Yeah. He was a real needle mover. We're going to get a bunch of no names like that. It seems like that Monday Night Wars line is kind of like fans creating the line like, hey, who do you want to see? Oh, I want to see Golga. He was funny. Name me a Golga match. What was your favorite Golga match? What was his finisher? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it ticks me off. Ticks me off. And also, if we're going to only include men in the Monday Night Wars line, where the frick is Billy Kidman? Where's my boy, Billy Kidman? We need Billy Kidman in the Monday Night Wars line. But we need more women. The Monday Night Wars line and the Legends line has turned into a sausage fest, for lack of better terms. And yeah, they need to sprinkle in some more women there. So I know we're getting Michelle McCool. But if she wasn't married to The Undertaker, would we be getting Michelle McCool in the Legends line? No, we wouldn't. So anyways, anyone excited for this main event, Alundra? Anybody? Because you could probably get the Elite, which is a good Elite. Don't get me wrong. You could probably get that Elite on eBay for a cheaper price than what the main event pre-order was. I mean, honestly. So yeah. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so here's the thing. I actually love the Major Pod. I always respect different aspects of this community. And let's be honest, would collecting wrestling figures for adults be where it's at without the Major Pod, Matt Cardona, Brian Myers, and Mark Sterling? I don't think it would. I honestly don't think it would. I love what they do. But there are times where I don't necessarily agree, and that's okay. Everyone's allowed to have different opinions. Now, I come from a different mindset, being a women's wrestling figure collector. Not a whole lot of us out there, y'all. And like, they've done the Hall of Fame every year. They've never had a single women's figure included in the Hall of Fame, and that should be a category added, right? I mean, in my opinion, I think that'd be a cool category. I think maybe I do a Hall of Fame. Should we do a Hall of Fame here in LumberJillville? Just thought of that. We do the Figure of the Year award, the Golden Comair Lex award, but maybe we start doing a Hall of Fame and I do a Hall of Fame episode. Maybe I will do that. Ooh, I like that idea. Maybe I'll do that for the 5-year channel anniversary. Let me know in the comments what you think. But yeah, they definitely overhyped the Golga. I mean, it was a very unique character, but I don't think there's anyone that collects wrestling figures, even deep collectors of wrestling figures, that at any point was like, hey, I hope Mattel releases a Golga. When they showed it, people were going crazy, but come on now. Ain't nobody missing that. Ain't nobody need it. Now, I know it's a Build-A-Figure, but still. But yeah, that line's starting to become a joke for me, honestly. I mean, they got Booker T and his GI Bro gimmick coming out. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here with the Monday Night Wars line? Come on. So it's disappointing. It really is disappointing. And I wish that they would make a Medusa. How perfect would that be? A Medusa in all black with a trash can with the WWF Women's title, dropping it in. That's what we need. That's what we need. And I don't think we're ever going to get it. Yeah, I think I will do a Hall of Fame episode It'd kind of be like the Jillies, but it'll be the Hall of Fame. And yeah. I think maybe the first year, just because I'm just coming up with this idea now. I think maybe the first year I'll induct like my personal, I don't know, maybe 3 figures to the Hall of Fame. And then next year I'll send out a ballot to all of you residents. That'd be really, really fun. That would be really, really fun, actually. If I could get like an email list or an Instagram list and just send a message to everybody. And I would love to go through and count everyone's votes. I love doing that stuff. I love the Jillies every year. It's a lot of fun. So I would love doing that for the Hall of Fame. However, because the 5-year channel anniversary is like in a week and a half, I think this year I'm just going to choose some important figures as Hall of Fame figures. I'm going to think about it. But I think that'd be kind of fun. And I consider the figures of the year, especially because ever since I think it was 2020, like y'all vote for the best figure of the year. I have them listed up on my wall in protectors, listed by year. Those are automatic, figures entered into the Hall of Fame. But there's some figures of the past that I think deserve to be in the Hall. So I'm going to actually get working on that. I think that would be a really fun video. So yeah, so Randy is looking forward to it already. I'm going to start making graphics and start making, maybe I'll go live with it. I don't know. I haven't honestly thought much into it. So I think I will definitely look into it. Now let me look at some WWE releases. Let's see. 2 hours ago. Okay. Oh, Dakota Kai, that hurts. That hurts. Oh my gosh, we got a big list here. Okay, here's an updated list, y'all. You ready? I'm going to go through the updated release list, and let's put this mug up here. And yes, my daughter had a birthday party tonight, and it was a Y2K party, so I am wearing a Blink-182 shirt, and I'm wearing cargo shorts, as I would. Okay, so releases. Braun Strowman. Didn't realize he was still in the company. Dakota Kai. Oh, that hurts. Shayna Baszler, that hurts more than I think a lot of people realize. Like I said, she brought something to the table that no one else in the company does. So I think that hurts the women's division. Kaden and Katana, that hurts as well. And like I said, that just shows you what they think about the women's tag team division. They were like the only women's tag team that were a tag team. They were a made tag team. They were awesome together and they were actually very entertaining. But WWE doesn't really care about their women's tag division. They tried to care. They made the NXT women's tag titles alongside the WWE women's tag titles. Then they dropped the NXT women's tag titles, and they've been breaking up a lot of the made tag teams like Alba and Isla. See ya, Isla. Kate and Katana, they're both gone. So it's sad, but that just shows what WWE thinks about their women's tag division, which is unfortunate. Cora Jade, not really a surprise there. I think the biggest surprise looking at this list is that Nikita Lyons isn't on there. She's spent more time injured than in the ring. Also, I feel like her, what am I trying to say without sounding bad? I think her interests lie outside of wrestling. I think they really do. So, yeah, but Cora, it sucked. I don't like to see that happen to her. Riley Osborne, Eddie Thorpe. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know who they are. No shade. I just don't know. Gigi Dolan. I mean, that hurts. I feel bad for Gigi. She's kind of been treading water ever since Toxic Attraction broke up years ago. 2-3 years ago? They found things to do with JC and kept her involved, which is great. But I feel bad for Gigi. There it is, everybody. Jakara Jackson. That is crushing. I loved her in Lash. Now I will throw hands. I will throw hands if they release Lash Legend. I think she's an amazing talent. She's an amazing woman, and I think she brings something to the table. It's really cool. Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang. So I think that's Gallus. So sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, so that's a bummer. I hate when these releases happen. I hate when they happen, but Matt Cardona has said it best on this podcast, on the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Like, hey, it's not over. I mean, he has reinvented himself, reinvented his career, and became relevant on the indies. And quite frankly, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think he would come back to WWE if they approached him. And I think WWE is stupid as hell for not doing that yet. I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer. Like I said, a lot of things I disagree with the Major Pod, a lot of things I love. But no matter what, I respect them so much, what they've done with the collecting community and also with the wrestling careers. Brian Myers on TNA, it's great, but yeah, hopefully all of these stars can pick up themselves and, go somewhere. But yeah, I think what hurts the most in this list, to me, it's Dakota and Shayna. Dakota, I just love Dakota. And Shayna, like I said, I don't know. I think they could have done so much. They did so much with her in NXT. And, the program they had with her and Ember in NXT way back in the day was fantastic. And Ember has showed everybody, Athena, Ember Moon, whatever you want to call her, has shown everyone like how good she is and how WWE really effed up with her. And I honestly think Shayna will do the same. I think she's going to go somewhere and be able to be herself completely, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, she's kind of cool. Like, why did WWE use her? And yeah, so don't like seeing these releases. Really don't. But so what you missed are some releases. So let me go. I'll pull up the slide. We won't talk much more about it, but yeah. So let me get my stupid face off the screen. Sorry. Yeah. So this is what I showed earlier. This is, I think, the initial post, but I just looked and I did see on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, I did see Gallus on there and I did see Jakara Jackson on there, unfortunately. So, yeah. Yeah. Team KC. Yeah. So, all right. So, Team KC, that just tells me WWE. Whew, I hope with Stephanie's, increasing involvement, they start putting more stock and more attention and care into the women's division. This doesn't bode well. I mean, looking at this list, there's so many women that were released that actually have had prominent TV time compared to, not as many guys that were really relevant on TV. So worries me. It worries me about the future of the women's division in WWE, honestly. I think Becky coming back definitely helps, but yeah, see, let me know if you've noticed a pattern that ever since Ronda left the company, WWE's like, oh, Ronda's gone. Okay, well, back to the mid card for the women's matches, back to except NXT does a great job of equaling the time pretty well between the women and the men. And even when it's not equal, that's okay. They put plenty of time and care into the women. So NXT has been great. That's the outlier. When I talk about WWE, I'm talking about the main roster. The main roster that's spent 50% of TV time on the Bloodline last few years, and now Cody Rhodes, and now it's John Cena. And I mean, that's cool. That gets people excited and everything, but like, I worry about the future of the women's division in WWE. I might have to do a video on that when I get more facts, because yeah. All right. You know what? Hey, we did get a Cora Jade Elite, and I'm not saying that snarky. I'm really glad that we got an Elite of Cora. Now, too bad Katana Chance's only figure absolutely sucked. That's too bad, right? But we never got a Jakara figure. We got plenty of Shayna's. That's cool. We got that Cora Jade Elite. Gigi got screwed. Her only figure sucks too. I mean, honestly, it does. Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. Whenever there's releases, I hate to be that person that's like, well, this person should have been released, not this person. Like, I don't want to see anyone released. And I know that's just not doable. I just know that's not really doable. I don't want to see anyone released, but There are some names that I look at this list and I'm like, I catch myself. I'm like, man, why did this person got released and not this person? But oh no, I'm frustrated. I am frustrated, but at the end of the day, I think the women that need to step up to the plate, not that they haven't, but that really need to carry that torch and, get WWE to start booking them better again. Honestly, I think those women are going to be Becky, Charlotte, Tiffany to an extent, Io, and Roxanne Perez. I think Roxanne Perez is the most talented women's wrestler on the roster outside of Io. I really do. I absolutely adore what she does in the ring. And I think she's been held back for years. Now she's finally on the main roster. They need to give her a major championship. I might shed a tear if Roxanne Perez wins the WWE Women's Championship or the Women's World Championship. I might shed a tear because I just think she's the best and she's been so freaking amazing. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, do we have any questions? And yeah, I don't want to see anyone get fired. That's too bad. Anyone have any questions in the comments? I know this took a sidetrack. I had this planned out. It was going to be like a news report where I go over news, and then the releases happened, and I had to start off talking about it, man. Like, I'm just reading comments on Facebook right now, and people are kind of feeling the same way I am, Someone said it's a dark day for the women's division, and it really is. It really is. It's too bad. Too bad. Did I pre-order Bayley? I pre-ordered 2 Baileys. I'm really excited for that Bayley Ultimate Edition. Really excited. I think it's the biggest glaring omission in the Ultimate Edition line has been Bayley, honestly. And Sasha, but I mean, Sasha left the company. I think they were going to make one. So yeah, I'm bummed. But yeah, does anyone else have anything they want to talk about, anything they want to see or go over? Let me know if you like this idea of like a LumberJillville news type thing where I cover topics, and I promise in the future it'll be more organized. I might have like a funny backdrop that looks like a news studio. I want to have fun with it, but things have been a little crazy. Had something happen before my daughter's party tonight. Kind of a family emergency, so it's been on my mind, and had a bit of a rough one, but coming on here and talking to all of y'all always brightens me up, and so does my daughter, so I'm glad I got to see her tonight. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys. But yeah, that sounded sad. You guys want to see some cool cards I have? Let me show you some cool cards. Look at these. They're playing cards of Mariah May and Harley Cameron. I just think they're so freaking cool. I just think they're so cool. They're not hard to get or anything, but I got them in a couple breaks, and I just think they're like the freaking coolest looking cards. I love them. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to add before I go off? Not like go off, like get all mad and start throwing things, but yeah, there is a rumor of Mariah May coming to WWE. That would be cool. That would be cool. And you have to wonder, maybe with this mass release, it's because they do plan on bringing in some talent, I guess. Anytime they release people, they might bring people in, I guess. I don't know. I think Mariah May is really cool. But yeah, so we'll see. I'll be honest, Randy. I just sold one of my prized cards in my collection. My Lash Legend out of 5. I sold it to the number one. I don't know if they're watching. The number one Lash Legend card collector needed it, and I sold it to him. You know, I love that card, but it's going to the top collector. So it went to a really good home. And let me tell y'all, I hit a card in an AEW break the other day, and it is gonna be my favorite card in my collection. Do y'all want to see a picture of it? Do you want to see a picture of it? Now, it's special to me because here's the thing. I used to watch Rampage every Friday night. Every Friday night. And you know why? Because there was a star named Jade Cargill on there. And Jade Cargill, I thought, was fantastic. And something I love about wrestling is watching the careers develop. And I was watching it right in front of my eyes, right? And anyway, Jade Cargill was the reason why I started watching AEW. And I didn't watch it when she left. I'm starting to watch it again a little bit. But anyway, I got into some card breaks. And I hit a card that there's only 10 of in the entire world. I hit this Jade Cargill variant. So it looks like a base, but it's a photo variant. And there's only 10. It's number 9 out of 10. So that might be my favorite card in my collection. Not just because it's low numbered, but like I have a couple gold Lola Vices from Panini. And I love those cards. But there's about 10 different images of that card out of 10. There's like gold disco, gold sparkle, gold angles, gold this, gold, you know what I mean? There's a million. But with this image of Jade, there's only 10. Like when you go on eBay and look for images of this card, you won't find it. Like you will not see this card on eBay. And it's absolutely insane to me. And I was like, oh, what? So it's going to be the centerpiece of my card collection, which I'll have to do a video on. But I love it. Yeah, they'll probably make an elite of Jordan Grace before we get to Powertown. However, it might take some time because they do have to, if they do it right like Jazz Wars and AEW has been doing it, then they're going to have to make a lot of unique body parts. The legs, the torso, the chest, the arms. They're going to have to make everything kind of from scratch. And I don't know if they're willing to do that. So that's why we haven't seen a Jordan Grace figure, is because Mattel's like, ah, crap, we got to put effort into this prick. You know what I mean? But yeah. So I don't necessarily think we'll see a Jordan Grace Elite come out anytime soon. If we see it announced or a render, that's one thing, but I don't think we'll have an Elite in hand for at least another year. At least. And I don't know if they're even going to make a figure first because they actually have to put effort into it. And Mattel has been super lazy. Unless it comes to the Joshi wrestlers. But hey, that's another deal. But all right, I am tired. I think so let's pull up Liv Morgan's figure, and then that'll be the last thing I cover. Oops. So the Liv Morgan on the right here, we'll see once I have it in hand. A lot of people weren't fans of the face. I'll wait to have it in hand because you never know with the lighting and also with the women's sculpts. Like if the scan's printed on a little bit off, usually it looks terrible. So I'll wait to have it in hand before I judge it. A lot of people don't like the hair. I don't like the hair. But I'll wait to have it in hand. I'm just happy we're getting a new Liv figure. You know, I just hope it's a start of many, many more. I love Liv. She's amazing. But all right. I definitely pre-ordered it though. Faux show. But yeah, good night to all of y'all. Kept it under an hour. Appreciate y'all for stopping in. I'll definitely do more news segments in the future that won't be as long, I promise. I know I ramble a lot, but like I said, kind of had a tough day. So it's always good to talk to you awesome people and feel loved. So I appreciate y'all so much. But stay tuned. I think I have a special classic review coming out on a Monday. It's going to be different. It's going to be a different one. So I'm kind of excited for it. It could be a huge disaster, but I'm going to try it out. But either way, have a great night. Have a great weekend. And as always, I love y'all. See ya.